Booyah! There you go. Mr. Metro Gnome. How are you? My name's Chris Quinlan. Welcome to Melbourne Musos Facebook Live. Getting my plugs in. And of course, well, what would you expect me to do on a Friday like this? Anzac Day's on Sundays. Hey, there you go. So what I'm going to do tonight is a bit rudimental, you see. So what I have, if I have some triggers here in amongst my book, I have my book up here, but, oh dear. There we are, stay there. Okay, what we got? I have some orchestral percussion, and I just thought I'd add it in. There you go. So what I want to talk about tonight is some beautiful things called rudiments, okay? And what it is, I started with the good old metronome, which I only explained about a couple of weeks ago. And it's such a funny thing that you got to do it again, because the marching tempo is 120 beats per minute. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Hey. Oh, one big long snare drum solo down Swanson Street. Beautiful. There you go. And it's always a very, very important day for at least me, because I'm going to put up there my beloved City of Essendon Brass Band that is long since amalgamated and all that sort of stuff. And, fond memories and remembering. And what it is what I'd like to talk about, though, is actually rudiments, okay? I'm going to talk about the history. I'm going to talk about getting through them all. I can't do 40 pass rudiments in 25 minutes. I could try if I just shut up and start playing. But what I've got today, I don't want to do them just like practice pad and there they are, and then you go off and play drums. So often there's this invisible wall, right, in between your practice pad and your drum kit. I remember coming up and I was just all the way, all the time on the practice pad. Come on, son, Harold H. would say. Metronome, get it up there. And all that. I only talked about that a fortnight ago, so I'm not going to dwell on. But what would happen is, if you weren't guided through, you'd leave your paradiddles on the practice pad, and then you go off and then you do, oh, now I'm playing real drums. But paradiddles are the real drums. There you go. Oh, what a schmozzle. Anyway, there you go. I'm going to read stuff to you. Hello and welcome to the Grade 4 drum set manual. I wrote this a long time ago. About 23 years ago. And what happens is that it's the grade 4, and you're probably wondering why. Well, what's going on with preliminary grade 1, 2, and 3? So let me take you through it. Okay. Now, a little bit of history is that rudiments and snare drum, or what we would call the side drum, all that business, is a drum or is an instrument of war, you know. So on it goes like that, you see. So on. And then you would, the signals on a snare drum are loosely attributed to the Swiss Army in the 8th century. And what would happen is they'd be signals, you know. Oh, okay, fellas, let's flank right. You know, the general on the hill. Oh, they'd see the cavalry behind the thing. Don't get ambushed, fellas, sound retreat. Go left, run away, and all that sort of stuff, you know. And that's what would happen. That's the history. I think most people know about that. But what happens then is that you have to remember that with rudiments, you would have, these days we have a drum line and all that. And basically what goes on is the reason you have that, they're damn loud. They didn't have Marshall stacks back in the day. That's a bit of a strange boom tish with the triggers on. But anyway, so what happens is that 8 of them, wow, bum 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 bum, and all that. And if someone goes, and someone, the lead drummer goes, oh shit. Next one up. All right. Okay, sir. Okay. And you also have to remember that these signals were so important. I mean, goes to Morse code. Dit, 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 all that stuff. Semaphore, the old, if you watch any kind of naval battle, with the signaling, the lights and all that. Even a spy film, torch, whatever. And there you go. I'll move on, hey? So what happens is that with these, that's what you do. Now, I'll go through it. Now, like I said, I've got my 4th grade drum set manual here. It's available for sale online if you like. Shameless plugging. But what would happen is that, let's start off. When you really just get started, you have 3 main kinds of ways to hit a drum. You have a single tap, you have a double tap, and then you have a press. So on, you see. And then you put it together. Now, I was only talking about the press roll the other day. So on, it goes like that. But what happens is you have your single stroke roll. Oh, don't put any double taps in. It's not good. There it is there. And what goes on then is that then you have the double stroke rolls. Now, if you've got a double stroke roll, I'll just get it, right, left, right, left. I'll move very quickly here. But what goes on is if you're doing a single stroke roll, and use the same flow. Now, because of the hi-hat, I'm counting 16 times. 1 and a 2, 3 and a 4. 1 and a 2, 3 and a 4, and 1 and a 2 and 3. Double stroke. There you go. You see, so you keep that same flow. You see, that's what goes on. Now, that's your getting started kind of thing, and then you've got your 3 main rudiments, which is the single stroke roll, double. No. Surf rock. Paradiddle. And what goes on there is when you first start on a practice pad, you try and keep it all even. I often say to my students, if your parents are sort of outside on a nice day, that kind of thing, and, sort of, I can sit down. The kid can have his drum lesson while I have a little bit of a breather. That's what. You doing okay there? Yeah, I'll be right. Hello. Read the paper, that kind of thing, you know how it is, the old teacher's waiting room or the outside when it's a sunny day. Anyway, strange boom tish again. And so what goes on here is that you try and, if we were playing them on a practice pad, hopefully the parent outside would think we're just doing the same thing, right? Because you try and keep it all nice and even, but no, we're trying to do the single stroke roll, double stroke roll, paradiddle with no breaks, nice and even and all that. However, if you do put it between 2 drums, There you go. There's your paradiddle. Oh, by the way, I know I'm talking about rudiments and stuff, but here's a great little thing. I love Jack White, as you all know. I've always said I'm a sucker for slide guitar and all that. But if I just do this, I've just played Corporation by Jack White. Dun, 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 dun. So if you're going to teach your kids, say, something like Seven Nation Army because they're just beginners, and I did beautiful Meg White just last month. Throw in Corporation off his last album, pre-COVID, and you've got a paradiddle, 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 right, right, both. Paradiddle, paradiddle, right, right, both. You're away. I think it's something like that, but it fits beautifully. It's a great little exercise. Anyway, there's a little gratis tip for you there. Actually, everything I do is gratis, isn't it? All right. So what goes on is you've got your three rudiments. Okay, so there it is. Now, when you're doing, what's happening is when you get into, from preliminary to grade one, now I'm going from the drum set manual, the drum set syllabus that I wrote back in the 1990s that people have used and ripped off and all sorts of different things like that. More boom tissues, but anyway, there it is there. And, I'd like to say it was the first one of its kind, actually. There was piano, there's guitar. What happened? Where's the drums? All my guitar students were doing exams. How come the drummers? But now I don't do any exam. Anyway, that's another story. I'm going down the rabbit hole. Anyway, but what happens is that when you're in grade one, you have your straight strokes, right? So you've got your single stroke, double stroke, paradiddles, then you double and your triples, right? So you... There you go, there's a single, double, triple. Then you have your inversions and things, your reverse paradiddles and all sorts of stuff. Then you'd have your triplets, and then away you go with grade one. When you get into the next grade, you start adding what we call a flam. As you know. Did you know there's three? Okay, there's the Appoggiatura, which is what I just did for We Will Rock You. Old Harold used to, they're African flams, the big wide ones, like that. But when you start doing the rudimentary side of things for Anzac Day and everything else, you have a tighter flam. The big wide one is called an Appoggiatura. Italian. Appoggiatura! Hello, Mr. John. That's my dear old dad. You come in. You deliver the beer. I deliver the spaghetti. They were grand old days. Dad would deliver stuff and all that business. Oh, you must come in. There's a glass of the grappa. Knock the head off a Polish priest. Would. I think that's an old joke. I hope I can still use it. Said with much love. That's an Appoggiatura. But when you do a very quick one, that is an Appoggiatura or Appoggiatura, like that. So on. And these are all add-ons, you see, because as you go through your different rudiments and stuff, if you start with a paradiddle, then you can have a flamadiddle. Flamadiddle, flamadiddle, flamma, flamma, flamadiddle. And you just do it forever. And a good flam, you can see a good flam coming by the height of the stick. I work in thirds myself. If that's 1 to 10, the normal taps will be about 3, and the accented notes would be about 9. So you have what we call a grace note, then a main tap. So it's in thirds. Like if you do it really light, it might be 1 and 3, or it could be 2 and 6, or 3 and 9, or 4 and 12. You're getting the drift. So a double stroke roll, so it becomes flam, you flam each side, becomes a flam tap. Now, these rudiments are mostly mnemonic, okay? That simply put, it means if you can say it, you can play it, you know, that kind of thing. So flam tap, flam tap, flam tap, flam tap. Now, here's why. When we get the book and all that, there's an understanding that you're learning to read music and all that sort of stuff. I get on my soapbox and, you know, always lose a bunch of Facebook friends because of, Chris is on, delete, block. And he's talking about reading dots. Oh, shit. There goes another one. I think that's Monty Python, isn't it? There goes another one. And there you go, you see. Facebook bin with you, Chris. And what goes on? I'm enjoying myself, it's all right. And delete me at the end. I've got more sick jokes coming. And so what goes on? I'm nearly finished, I've hardly started. I'll keep on going tonight. Anyway, so what goes on is, what you do is that when you're learning them, there's a semblance of, how does it go, whatever. But it's, if you can say it, you can play it. It's literal. Music in itself is completely literal. If it says paradiddle, that's how it sounds. Paradiddle. The diddle is the double tap, you see. So when you have things like a rudiment, like a paradiddle diddle, that's exactly what it is. Paradiddle diddle. Paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle. And so on it goes. That's a paradiddle. Paradiddle diddle. There it is. And so what happens with this is you've got to remember back to the day when these were being developed, okay? Most of Europe has been at war with each other, okay? And one of the things about this is that snare drum playing, all this sort of stuff, was its own secret code. So we're at a time when, you know, everyone was fighting everybody. You know, there's England there, and they were, you know, going up into Scotland and all of that, times of trouble and strife. Dear old Ireland, all that, you know, my homeland. And all that, and then across, you know, let's belt the French up again, hey? We got nothing to do. Let's chop down a forest, make a bunch of ships, and shoot the shit out of them. With the wigs and shit, you know? Nothing like a good war. Fuck. Anyway, I wish I hadn't said that. You did, Chris, you did. Your Majesty is like a dose of clap. Before you arrive is pleasure, but after it's merely a pain in the dong. Monty Python, 1973. Okay, so there you go. Brother Maynard, bring out the holy hand grenade of Antioch. There we are. All right. Holy Grail. I'm crapping on with it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So what happens is everyone would be whatever. And so where do they get their armies from? The kids in a farm. They go through, let's grab that, you know. Let's grab that mob there, and off we go. They couldn't read or write, you know, that kind of thing. Sign them up, all that sort of stuff. Now this is how to belt out a retreat, kids. Paradiddle, paradiddle. Mum, where's Mum? All that. Yeah, good on you, mate. And that's what goes on, you see. So that's where the rudiments come from. And so what we do is, it's a grand tradition. And what it does, it's like musical Lego. So what happens is when you get your tattoo or a sequence, which is usually 16 bars, and when you're doing any kind of march, what would normally happen is that the band would be marching, and it's generally 120 beats a minute, generally, most of the time. So 1, 2, 1, 2. And you have duple time. The reason because you've got 2 feet, you know, that kind of thing. If Martians came down and they had 3 feet, you'd probably be doing triple time. Or if you jake the peg or something, am I allowed to say that? Well, you know what I mean. It's, geez, I'm getting into trouble with tonight's show, aren't I? Jeez. Anyway, I'm Jake the peg-a-leg-a-leg. Yeah, you sure are, mate. All right. Anyway, let's move right along. Okay. So what goes on is that when you're dealing with duple time, it's because you've got 2 feet. Left, 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 right, left, and all that stuff. And the 2 main kinds of duple time that you would march to is simple duple time, which is 2/4, and 1 E and a 2, and 1 E and a 2, and 1 E and a 2, and 1 E and a 2. Anybody know Black Cat? Black cat fiddled in the white cat's eye. Black cat fiddled in the white cat's eye. Black cat fiddled, black cat fiddled. Black cat fiddled in the white cat's eye. Black cat fiddled. Poor old white cat. There you go. And so that's what goes on. When you're doing the other duple time is compound duple, which is 6/8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 pulses, a dotted crotch at each. Something like that. And then what happens with that is that you would march to that little chestnut as well, you see, and you'd mix it up. Now, what would normally happen is that the bands, I should say, that would be doing the march would, they'd pick their tunes, okay? One that I remember well is, some of you brass bandies out there might remember Invercargill, which is a great old marching song. Invercargill is a town in Scotland, or city in Scotland. And we always used to call it in for a gargle, out for a piss. It's thirsty work when you're marching, especially when it's from RMIT right down to the War Memorial. That's a hell of a march, mate. Ooh, geez. Anyway, there you go. And wonderful, wonderful, brilliant. Honour them. So what goes on? In for a gargle, out for a piss, and away you go. And you'd actually sort of play melodic snare drum. So on it goes, like that. Now, of course, I'm sort of playing what most people would think of as, say, a 4 on the floor. You can't really call it 4 on the chest, like that, or 2 on the chest, you know, sort of thing. I'll leave that one alone. And what happens with that is that you're playing that, and you're keeping the pulse for the band, and the band would play the tunes. But you've got to remember everyone's, you know, their lips will wear out, you know, that kind of thing. And what goes on is that they've got to take a break. So once they finish once they finish Invercargill and all that, what happens is we drummers would do a sequence of usually 6 bars, you see. So that's... I'm swinging it a bit. Be a little bit jaunty little march if I did it like that. But what goes on is you do that. And you've got 2 lines. You've got your lead drummers and then your second line with the apprentices, if you like. So if I'm doing rolls, you might find that the kids behind you are just doing... Okay? Now, what that is roughs and rolls. Now, what's happened, a little bit of history here, is that you had your 26 standard rudiments, of which William F. Ludwig convened the all drummers, because by this time, France, Germany, the Prussians, who saved England during the Battle of Waterloo, Duke of Wellington said, it was such a close-run thing, bit more snuff, and wig is itchy. And what happens is, what would go on, is that every country had its own form of beatings, as they would say. And so what would happen is, by the time, if you want to be really literal about it, by the time, the walkie-talkie came in and, and you had the telephone in the trenches at World War I, hello, over the top, hey. And what goes on is that you would use the telephone. And so basically the marching would, as the snare drum based marching or signals would phased itself out. So it became generally ceremonial. And therefore, we're in a situation where let's ratify them so that everyone's playing the same thing. Okay. And that was really put together, as I said, with William F. Ludwig. One of the other dudes on the committee, if you will, was George Lawrence Stone, who is very famous for his book Stick Control, which I'll put there. And one of his star students is Joe Morello, who I'll put there. Master Studies and all that. And that's a great book as well. And so what goes on is it got ratified. And they became what's known as nard, okay? It sounds like a cream, I just put a bit of nard, it's like, isn't it nair? Is that what it is? Ladies, help me, okay? That's what you put it on. If you've got little hairs that you don't want there, you put the bit of the old nard on it. Where's this going, Chris? Anyway, so what happens is a nard wasn't a cream after all. It was the National American Rudimental Drummers. Nard. There's the book. I'll go to the book. I should have put it up here and held it up. I'm going to put it there. Nard. And there you go. Thank you. I'll have a tube of nards. Thank you. And so what goes on? Nard disbanded in the 60s, and then the Percussive Arts Society, which we know as PAS, the Percussive Arts Society, what happened is they took it over, and the very famous drummer Jay Wanamaker was the chairman of that committee in the late 80s, and they ratified it once again and added an extra 14. So from the 26 standard rudiments it went to 40, and there was a couple of weird ones in there. I was already teaching about 10 years when that came out, and I'm going, what the bloody hell is a flammed mill? What the hell is that? And essentially, it's a reverse paradiddle, right, left, right, left, flam. There it is. And what they did was they changed a few of the names and stuff, and changed some of the paradiddles. So I grew up with the. Does everyone remember the Buddy Rich book of snare drum rudiments and all that? So you had like the triple flammadiddle, which was flamma, flamma, flammadiddle, flamma, flamma, flammadiddle, and the dragadiddle, where you have a double tap. March to that one, the old Mexican hat dance. There you go. And what happens with that is that they changed it up a bit, and once again it's literal, okay? And it changed to dragadiddle A and dragadiddle B and all that sort of stuff. So there's a bit of confusion. But if you go to the original Buddy Rich snare drum rudiments, there it is right there, and they use the word roughs for R-U-F-F. Oh, pardon me. R-U-F-F for anything done with single stroke. So if you've got a 5-stroke rough, it literally is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, you might as well do the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't forget that side, Chris. If it's a roll, it's a double stroke. Right, right, left, left, right. Left, left, right, right, left. You're simply counting. But at some point, I sometimes, I'd be a bit of a meanness. How many notes did I just play? You did it too fast. 1, 2, 3, I lost count. That kind of thing. No, you've got to do it as a group. And you learn them as groups, so it's good to know your times tables, Okay, 2 4s and 1. 9. There it is. That's why I just played a 9-stroke. Roll. 5. You see? But the Yankees did it like single stroke, 7. It's a 7-stroke rough, mate. The Scotsmen aren't going to change it anytime soon, are they? There it is. And there you go. And there are your roughs and rolls, you see. And then when you're getting into drags, you can start to have things like a 4-stroke rough, 1 to 4. Put a drag in front of it. Can you roll your R? Ratamacue. A. Okay? Ratamacue. So you can have, if you can say it, you can play it. So if you've got a single ratamacue, 1 rat. Double ratamacue, 2 rats. 3 rats. And there you go. You see? There's ratamacues. And there you go. And then everything else is compendiums of all the different basic strokes, you see. And that's what you've got, you see. I'm just going to keep on going for a little bit here. So there you go. So what happens with this is that it's all brought together. Now, what goes on then is that it's a little bit like rudimentary Lego, is what I sort of say. Because what happens is that you've got things like the 26 standard rudiments morphed into the 40 pass rudiments. And what happens is that when you're doing things like that, imagine if instead of the book there, I had a screen and I had a notation software like Sibelius or MuseScore or some of those. And what you do is you'd literally write in the 40 pass rudiments, and then you can just copy and paste it in and make a 16-bar solo willy-nilly as an exercise. You just go, it's like Lego, There you go, I've got a little 16-bar thing there. You just have to watch the timings and all that, because some of them are in 6/8, others are in 2/4. That's it. And there you go. So you group them like that. So if I have a bit of a go at the old drum set manual here, okay, here's the 40 pass rudiments. The first set is your roll rudiments, single stroke roll rudiments. And so you've got your single stroke roll, single stroke 4, which I just mentioned, single stroke 7, which I just played. Don't forget you've got your multiple bounce roll. I talked about that just the other week too. The funny thing with the rudiments, it's just a minim there. It's just got a minim, stem, and a Z through it. That's all. But what happens is, like I did the other week, I made the joke, or it's the remembrance I made. Dear Ronnie Root of the City of Essendon Brass Band said, especially with Remembrance Day, said, "Oh, we're doing hymns today, Chris. Just press roll." And he'd say, and my joke the other week was, as if it was easy, you'd be there, and your wrists would be falling off, and you've got to keep it even. Oh, you don't want to get it lumpy. Oh. Oh. love that snare drum. That used to be my main one. Beautiful little D-dub maple. Thank you, Doris. And for the last 6 years, I've had this wonderful stainless steel. Many sounds on this drum. That's what I love. Oh, there's Lars again from last episode. Let's not go down that track again. Not that rabbit hole, Chris. Okay, so that's what you've got there. And so you've got your multiple bounce roll. One of them is the triple stroke. Want it like a flow. Here we go. Ah, it's beautiful stuff. It just feels good. Get it from the wrists. There you go. And essentially I'll just run through. Then you have your double stroke open roll rudiments. Open rolls mean double strokes, and closed rolls mean presses. So many pieces that I used to play with the brass band, if you're playing them outside, you need to be heard, so you'd belt them out with double stroke rolls, big and like that. But we used to do the naturalisation ceremonies at the Essendon Civic Theatre, and that was a big thing in the day, because you used to have all these people, you know, refugees and everything. Now, they're beautiful, beautiful people. And they'd be so proud to become Australian citizens, and we'd be playing. And all, because it was inside, we'd be playing the same tunes, but because it was inside, I'd have to be a lot more subtle. With me, that's an oxymoron, isn't it? Chris being subtle. And so I'd have to play the songs closed, with the presses closed, you see. So, you know, there's that one. So, there you go. And so you'd have your closed rolls, and that's presses. So you can have a 5-stroke roll, but if you closed it, it feels like a 3-stroke rough. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but it's press, press, tap, press, press, tap. Not a lot of people know that. According to Michael Caine, that's his line. Not a lot of people know that, because it's not in the rudiments, you see. That's the one thing about these 40-pass rudiments, is that the multiple bounce roll, why don't you just call it a press, mate? Why do you have to change the names all the time, you know, reworking history, you know, that kind of thing. Just stick to the presses. And what goes on there is you get that. There it is. And there it is there. Okay, I'll go through it really quickly and then go off and play them yourself. God help me. Diddle rudiments are your paradiddles, and there you go. Then you have your flam rudiments. Now just remember that they're add-ons. So if you've got triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, or 6/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Flam accent, put a flam on them, it's a flam accent. Flam accent, flam accent, flam accent, flam accent. Hey. Oh, and then what the Swiss did, they did a little thing. They became world champion drumline in the 70s, and they had the secret weapon. You know, I'll play it for you, but it's a secret. You know, that kind of thing. But then they let it go. And what it is it's right, right, left, triplet rudiment, like that. But they flam the start of that. Yep. I'll slow it down. See? So what that ends up being is like an overlapping double stroke roll. That's why you can get speed with it, you see. So I'll do it on 2 different drums. I like that sound. Clink, clink. So you're starting to use your double tap, you see. The other thing too is a flam accents side to side. right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. But the Swiss triplet is one-sided. Oh, that was a bit shitty. There you go. You see, that's what happens there. That's a Swiss triplet. And so what happens is with your different kinds of things, they're what's known sometimes as when you're starting to do different things, you can call them hybrid rudiments. Hybrid meaning you're adding more than one. So if you take a triple paradiddle, a triple flammadiddle, flamma, 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 doodle, flamma, 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 doodle, triple dragadiddle, that's the Buddy Rich one. I'll come back to another one in a second for you. But what goes on is, why not hybrid it up? So you mix them together. Why not have a para, flamma, dragadiddle? Para, flamma, dragadiddle. Why not? Sort of thing. And then work out where to put it in. There you go. Oh, I'm going to force fit it into this slow love song. There you go. Or whatever. And that's what you've got there. So they're hybrid rhythms, you see, you put them in. But what starts to happen is you get crazy names. You've got a pata fla fla. That should be fla pata fla, because a pata fla fla, I mean, I'm serious here. I haven't had my beer yet. So what happens is it's flam, 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 like that. So it should be fla pata, fla pata, not pata, fla fla. It screws it up. So sometimes it's like But what you do is, when you're getting into the things like paradiddles and trying to remember them and all that, and getting them all going, where you've got drag paradiddle 1 and drag paradiddle 2, and they've changed the names on you, all that business, just sing something. So if we're going to take, say, drag paradiddle 2, okay, with this, what starts to happen is you can have, what shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor? Early in the morning. There you go. That's what you do with a drunken sailor. You know what that's about? Press gangs. You know what a press gang is? Is the aforementioned killed forest to make the navy, so you can belt up the French a little bit more, and all that sort of stuff. And so they needed sailors. So they go into taverns, get everybody, paralytic, and the poor buggers would turn up the next morning. They'd wake up in the hold of a ship and it'd be sailing out to sea. There you go, you're a sailor now. So that's what it is. What shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor? Bam. Great history, huh? Oof. So what goes on is that with my... I hope the audience is still there. Like I said last week, I might just have an audience. Hello, audience. There you go. And what goes on now is that's a little bit of the checkered history of rudiments there, and how to play them and how to remember them, you see. So that's what goes on. And what you do then is that they give you a wonderful... It's truth to me, because it just keeps you honest. Because what happens is, if you're ever in a position where you're doing, say, Corporation by Jack White, there it is. You can literally sort it in 2 seconds flat. You can say it's a paradiddle, then just a beat of rock beat. So it'll be paradiddle, rock beat, paradiddle, rock beat. So you get... Now, it's just like Immigrant Song with dear John Henry Bonham. Now, of course, he played it like this. And all that. But when you listen to the version that Trent Reznor did, He won an Academy Award for that, for The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and it was the immigrant song. And it was like that real rollicking. Paradiddle, there it is, straight up. If you're going to do anything like a Purdy shuffle, you know. Double paradiddle, there you go. It's the easiest way to get to it. I didn't play the Purdy shuffle, but I'm talking about a halftime shuffle. And then you're getting close to things like Stuart Copeland. Now, that can be said with one phrase, one rudiment or one little thing, you know, a little bit like, blues in A, mate, let's go, you know, that kind of thing. Can you tab it out, mate? All that stuff, you know. No, it's a 12-bar blues. Know it. That's your trade. That's what we love. I cherish it all. So what happens is that you could sit in a studio and you can have a really, like a quite a tricky little beat sorted in seconds rather than, well, then I got to, I'll just go away and practice that. So, parody. There you go. Wasn't it the Australian surf rock legends, the Atlantics with Bombora? And I remember a long time ago that the drummer actually said my secret weapon when I had to do all those fast rolls, you know, like that, like Wipeout, you know, and your wrists fall up. And he said, my secret weapon was always a paradiddle. Everyone asked me, how come you could play it like that? And I said, well, my teacher taught them to me, you know, that kind of thing. Like bing, 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 paradiddle there. Paradiddle, paradiddle. There you go. Paradman doodles. There you go. And so get to know your terms and get to know everything, and then everything just falls together. There you go. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I'm doing a double episode by the looks of things tonight because it is a special day. And I need to have a look at all the stick dandruff here, Chris. Okay, then. The good old Dame Evelyn Glennies, there you are there. I hope that camera's working tonight. Yes, it is. Thank you very much, camera. Anyway, a little bit of a glitch in the system last week. All these things, rudimentary based, you know, that kind of thing. You just don't pull them out of your hat. I love the fact that they're all connected. But what I wanted to do was actually take a second to thank you all so much. And it's a bit of a, I'd like to thank the Academy a second, because I got some beautiful news the other day. The show's been nominated for Best Music Program on Community TV. And I'm humbled by that. Thank you so much. It's one of those things that you just push through sometimes. You know, we're coming up to Anzac Day, and sometimes it's hard to reconcile both. But the thing is, you just keep going, all right? And but thank you for watching, audience. But no, sincerely, without any lame-ass dad jokes, thank you. Thanks for watching all that stuff. I'll keep going, even if 30, you know, community television might be in its last months. Again, I did the rant last week, so I won't do it tonight. But it was wonderful news to get through the week and all that, because Anzac Day has always been a very, very special day for my family, and you know, sort of thing. My dad was a bit of an older dad, so he went off to World War II. Mum stayed behind. She was 16. I put up the picture yesterday because today is the anniversary of her passing. And what goes on is she used to write pen pal letters to single men at the front or with no immediate family. Let's talk about other things. I just really wanted to thank you for that, because it is an important time for so many different people. So I'd like to close off now. Ha! There you go. Ooh! Nearly went down another rabbit hole there. Shit. And so what it is just remember how important and how, in some ways, sacred these rudiments are. You know, play them, you know, and there's that. And of course, I'm talking checkered histories, but the thing about that is that when you're doing these rudiments, it's almost like truth. It's just what they are. It's what we are, you know, that kind of thing. And then you can bring them out, you know, sort of stuff. And you filter it because, of course, I could talk about things like, well, it's about war. And I think you can read between the lines of tonight's episode, or tonight's Facebook, I should say. But the thing about it is it's like a filter, you know, turn evil into good and all that, because one of the greatest anti-war songs I've ever heard starts with a 9-stroke rough. Okay? So, you know, it was so hard-hitting when I first heard it as a kid, and I just sat there and just stunned at what the man could do and his band could do to pull that off. And it starts like this, right? Machine Gun, Jimi Hendrix. That was important. That's an important song. Go and listen to it. I'll put it up after I finish tonight. I'll find it on YouTube somewhere, I hope. Machine Gun. Bang. There you go. So, and there you go. So that's, you know, that's my show. And I'd like to dedicate it to everyone with anything to do with Anzac Day. Grandparents, mums, dads, or everybody in between. So take care. I'm going to do this little biz. I'm going to shut up now. And I'll just play a little bit before I finish.